We opened the First Class Expo with 4 succinct messages on leadership development, starting with uncomplicating leadership. Our first speaker is an organizational psychologist who helps performance acceleration among leaders, including executives and professionals in Fortune 500, Fortune 100 even, and high growth companies like the New York Times, Microsoft, Johnson & Johnson. Today, she will speak about how to lead fearlessly, using her experience towing a 4,500-pound trailer, literally. The speaker is Dr. Yon Na with her message, breaking stereotypes by pushing aside fear and towing an airstream trailer. Breaking stereotypes by pushing aside fear and towing an airstream trailer. Yes, you heard it right. Dr. Yon Na, over to you.
Thank you so much. Hi. So I have slept in the middle of the desert in a small silver container. This container is an airstream trailer and it weighs 4,500 pounds. It's right behind me. In it, I have all the comforts of home, a bed, kitchen, bathroom. But the best part about being in the middle of the nowhere was the utter silence and peace I felt. It was so quiet that I could hear myself breathing. My dog, Butters, and I sat at the kitchen dinette, taking in the beautiful scenery around us. And I'll always treasure that moment. But getting to this perfect point in time was not an easy one. I had towed the trailer through the Tejon Pass in California, which is over 4,000 feet in elevation, and then ascended down through the Grapevine, a long stretch of the interstate famous for icy roads and many accidents. But the thing is, I was never afraid. Owning a trailer and learning how to navigate the roads from the Grand Canyon to the bayous of Louisiana built my confidence to show up as a leader in corporate America. Now, as an organizational psychologist, I work with companies to support and grow their leaders. So why am I talking about towing an airstream? Because the lessons I learned on the road pushed me to overcome my fears about work and life. And I'm here to share those lessons to help you alleviate any fears you might have about becoming the influential leader you are meant to be. So there are 5 critical components to pushing through your fears and becoming a successful leader. Today, I'll share 3 of the 5 lessons. So the first is overcome your fear step by step. It takes 15 steps to connect my car to the trailer. Each step is absolutely necessary since I'm connecting 4,500 pounds of machinery to my car. So imagine missing one of the 15 steps and the trailer disconnects while going 55 miles per hour on the highway. It can be a deadly situation. So taking the time to ensure I took all of the necessary steps helped me to feel safe about towing, regardless of where I was in the United States. Being a leader can also be scary. You might second guess yourself because you don't know what's around the corner. Maybe you're worried that you don't have what it takes to be the most effective leader possible. But you can overcome these fears by knowing you have taken all of the appropriate steps to get to where you are today, that you are fully equipped to do the job. Knowing this boosts your confidence. The second tip I have for you is visualizing your destination because it will give you the courage to move forward. Had I dwelled on the Grapevine and how challenging it was to navigate those icy roads, or any road for that matter, I never would have made the decision to buy the trailer. Imagining the many scary scenarios would have prevented me from taking action. So rather than thinking about what could go wrong, I imagined what could go right, such as waking up in the middle of a quiet desert landscape. So when you're in a leadership role, many things can go wrong. There's constant pressure to make the right decision, so you might overanalyze and become paralyzed by fear. But instead of thinking what could go wrong, visualize what successful leadership looks like for you, and it could be different for everyone. Do you aspire to be a subject matter expert and thought leader? Are you leading a large team? Imagine your destination, and this will help you when you get that nagging sense of dread that could get in the way of you achieving your potential. The third is to harness your naivete. To be honest, I was naive about what it meant to tow a trailer, and my naivete helped me to be open and to learn. It didn't matter that my past experiences of living in the city actually made me avoid talking to strangers. It didn't matter that a drunk driver once totaled my car and I was afraid to drive for a long time. Had I let my negative experiences influence me, I never would have traveled in an Airstream all over the US and ultimately gaining confidence. In your professional life, you may have failed, but don't let past mistakes dictate your future potential. Be naive and open to each and every opportunity. Here's what I learned about towing and leadership. Stepping up as a leader requires courage. So remember, you can overcome your fears by knowing you have taken the necessary steps to prepare yourself to lead. That's what matters. And then visualizing where you want to go and being naive to what's in the moment, all build confidence to reach your potential as an influential leader. I will leave you with one final concept. Don't make leadership complicated. When I bought the Airstream for the first time, I towed it for the first time. I didn't know anything about towing. In that moment, I knew I could do it. And the reason is because the person who was selling the Airstream to me said to me, remember, if you think it's going to be complicated or hard, then it's going to be complicated and hard. This is really wise advice for life and work. Don't make leadership complicated and become the influential leader you are meant to be. Thank you.
Dr. Yon Na, thank you. Wow. Just in a short amount of time, you certainly have given me a lot to think about. Thank you. And you can book Dr. Yon Na as a speaker at your organization, at your site. Take a look at the chat, and there's information to be able to do that. Liz, over to you to introduce our next speaker. What did you think about the message from Dr. Yon Na?
Yeah, thank you, Fabian. That was an amazing, inspirational talk, talking about leadership, courage, and literally towing an Airstream across the country. Something that is now inspiring me to do that as well. Well, moving on to the next speaker. Our next speaker is a cultural anthropologist with over 15 years of experience in designing and delivering learning across virtual, hybrid, and in-person formats, with focus on the future of work, intercultural fluency, and gender inclusion. An Asian Canadian thought leader, he has taught at top Canadian universities covering timely topics such as public policy, intercultural communication, and more. Our speaker is Dr. Nitin Deckha. Today, he is asking you to take another look at yourself, and he's going to be presenting science-based evidence that leadership is about competencies, not stereotypes. Let's give it up for Dr. Nitin Deckha.
Do you believe in the concept of natural-born leaders? I don't, and today I want to tell you why. Several years ago, Tina Kiefer, a professor of organizational behavior, conducted a research study on leadership. She asked people to draw pictures of a leader. Now, there have been many studies of what leaders look like. One study surveyed US executives regarding their perception of key leadership traits. In that study, the top 5 leadership traits identified were 1, taking initiative, 2, developing oneself, 3, honesty and integrity, 4, driving for results, and 5, and importantly, developing and motivating others. So if we take this study, a leader is someone who is made and thus not born, someone with virtues such as integrity and honesty, someone concerned about improving performance, whether their own or building it in others. This is great, but there's something I left out in the story, and it's a key detail that's going to be very important for APIDA professionals. Here it is. While the executives who were surveyed rated females as better exemplifying these 5 leadership traits, in Kiefer's study, you know, the professor who asked people to draw pictures of what they thought a leader looked like, both females and males drew pictures of leaders that resembled men. Let's take a moment to let that sink in. Executives tell us that females better demonstrate key leadership competencies of integrity, honesty, taking initiative, driving for results, and developing themselves as well as others around them. Yet, when people are asked to draw a picture of a leader, we tend to draw male figures. So what does that mean? Well, it seems that in our collective socialization and culture, we identify, maybe even stereotype males as leaders. We are unconsciously identifying leaders as someone who looks male, perhaps even a male who might have been told that he's born to lead. And for people who look like women, well, we tend not to see them as leaders, even if executive surveys tell us that they're more likely to have the key leadership traits. And all of this is reflective of our society and culture's bias towards privileging male dominance, and which contributes to glass ceilings all across North America. So let's take another look at that survey from those executives. In that, we learned leadership wasn't something you're born with, it is a set of traits that you can cultivate. Of course, you may not be a leader today or tomorrow, it may be next month or next year. Keep in mind the education scholar and researcher Carol Dweck's important work on adopting a growth mindset. Leadership, like most things, can be learned. There will be setbacks. It's a matter, as Dweck says, of moving from failure to appreciating that sometimes it's a matter of not yet. What does that mean? It means that you may not be a leader right away, but with practice and time, developing these traits, you can become one. It's not a matter of never, it's a matter of not yet. It's about taking a competency development mindset that you can develop in yourself and others. Leadership is not about what you look like or what your gender expression is. That, my API DA friend, is my message. You might doubt your expertise, you might doubt your leadership abilities. Perhaps nobody ever said you looked like a leader or expected you to lead. Perhaps I want you to forget all about that. Instead, I want you to ask yourself, do you exemplify those key traits identified by these executives? Honesty, integrity, being results-driven, and developing and motivating others. Well then, my friend, take another look at yourself, because society sees you as a leader. They may not tell you that on a daily or weekly or even on a yearly basis. But if you have those traits, you have what it takes to be a leader. And you, with your depth of lived experience and expertise, have a lot to offer. So get out there. Your audience is waiting for you. And hopefully it won't be long before the time comes when another professor does a study asking people to draw an image of what a leader looks like, and they draw a picture of someone who looks like you. When I'm invited to design a leadership course or program, or to lead a webinar, or to sit on a panel of advancing equity and inclusion in leadership, this is where I start with a competency-based approach to leadership. So let's start shifting our perception of leadership from what a leader looks like to what are the competencies we want in our leaders. This way, we can build more leaders and a broader representation and inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Deckha. That's a very fascinating test, drawing a leader, and it turns out to be more male-based than female. Very fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. Everyone, if you would like to book Dr. Nitin Deckha for a speaker, please check the chat for more information on how to book him with their Speakers Bureau. On to you, Fabian.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, Liz, Nitin's message really resonates with me. I'm sure it did with you, because that's what we do at NAP. That's why NAP, in its 40 years, how it has evolved, we are committed to building leaders, building capabilities among people, whether it's at the chapter level with all the activities that we do at the chapter level, to programs that we put in place through the volunteers, the myriad of volunteers, like Mandy, that stepped up to take on the formation of this Speakers Bureau. Nitin, your message very much resonates with us, all of us at NAP, because this is what we're trying to do, is to change the complexion of leadership, what it means, and how it shows up. And I hope all of you that are listening are going to show up in your leadership.